Regression means it is one type of statistical technique we use for the analysis of for the variables. In our daily lives, we come across variables like which are related to each other. So to study the degree of relationships between these variables, we make use of correlation. But to find the nature of the relationship between the variables, we have another measure that is called as regression. So in this, we use correlation and regression to find equations so that we can estimate the value of one variable when the values of the other variables are given. So this is for about regression. In multiple regression, it is also one type of analysis in statistical technique, and this can analyzes the relationship between two or more variables. In regression analysis, we are having some types of analysis as we know. So we are having linear regression, multiple regression, logistic regression, and polynomial regression. So what is linear regression? First, we'll see what's about linear regression. Linear regression is used to predict the value of a variable based on the value of another variable. Means only one variable will be there in that to predict. So we can predict one variable in that. Multiple regression means we can predict the values based on so many independent variables. In linear regression, we use this analysis to predict the value of a variable based on the value of another variable. So the variable you want to predict is called the dependent variable, and the variable you are using to predict the other variables values is called the independent variable. So in linear regression, we use only the value of a variable based on the value of the other variable. Means we can see that linear regression, it performs the task to predict the independent variable value called y. These are the dependent variables based on a given independent variable x. So the name is linear regression about this. So in the figure you can see on the x-axis, so this is the independent variable and the y-axis is dependent variable. For example, we can consider this x independent variable is work experience of a person, and y indicates that the salary of a person. So the regression line is the best fit line for our model. Means only one variable is dependent to another variable. Only one dependent variable and another independent variable. So to predict the dependent and independent variable relationship, here we can follow this linear regression. So as by seeing this graph, we can consider that x is one independent variable, y is an dependent variable, and the work experience and the salary of a person, these two variables performs linear regression. Means we can predict the value of a variable. Based on his work experience, we can estimate his salary. So that is about linear regression. So and next we'll go and see what is multiple regression. If we have clear about linear regression, what it is, then we can see about multiple regression. So in this regression analysis, it analyzes the relationship between two or more variables and uses the information to estimate the value of the dependent variables. So in this regression, the main objective is to develop a model that describes dependent variable to more than one independent variable. So in the linear regression, we had seen the independent variable. For the independent variable, the dependent variable is only one, the salary. The salary of an employee based on his work experience. Based on his work experience and we can estimate his salary. But in independent variables, based on his salary, we can take so many independent variables to predict his salary. So that's about multiple regression. And the earlier video also, we had explained one example about what influences a person's salary. So the person's salary is a dependent variable and independent variables are his educational level, time and age of a person. These are independent variables. So in the simple linear regression, we can see salary is the one independent variable. Salary is the one dependent variable and only one independent variable we can consider in the linear regression. Maybe it's the educational level, time or age of a person. Any one independent variable we can consider to predict further linear regression. In the multiple regression, we can follow two or more variables and we can use that information to estimate the value of the dependent variable salary. So salary is a dependent variable. The independent variables are education and the hours of time he worked and his educational level and his age. So many two or more variables we can consider in the multiple regression analysis. So the multiple regression analysis is also called as multiple linear regression analysis. So the difference between linear and multiple regression is in this simple linear regression, only one dependent variable y predicted from one independent variable, whereas in multiple regression, we can see one dependent variable y predicted from a set of independent variables. So, two or more independent variables we can consider in multiple regression. That is the main difference for linear and multiple linear regression. And also in this multiple regression, one regression coefficient we will use in linear regression. In multiple regression, one regression coefficient for each independent variable for x1, x2, for age, for his education and for his working hours. For each independent variable, we use one regression coefficient. In linear regression, only one regression coefficient will use. And in simple linear regression, R square, the proportion of variation in dependent variable y predictable from x. In this multiple regression, the proportion of variation in dependent variable y predictable by set of independent variables. So these 3 points are main differences we can follow for the simple and multiple linear regressions. So coming to the point of multiple regression clearly. So we are clear about what is what about simple linear and multiple linear regression. And next, the definition of multiple regression, multiple linear regression also. It is a technique that analyzes the relationship between two or more variables and can uses that information to estimate the value of the dependent variable. So the objective of this is to develop a model that describes the dependent variable y to more than one independent variable. And we can see for this regression, it allows the researchers to predict or explain the variation in one variable based on the other variable. This is very helpful for the researcher to predict and explain. And we can take some of the examples for this multiple regression. For example, scientists might use different amounts of fertilizers and water on different fields and they can see how it affects on crop fields. So means here only one dependent variable and two or more independent variables are to research on that. And also we can follow some of the example for the multiple regression. For example, we can see real estate example also we can see. So, a real estate employee who wants to create a model to help predict the best time to sell homes. So, he hopes to sell homes at the maximum sales price, but multiple factors can affect the sales price. So, those variables like age of the house, the value of other homes in the neighborhood, and quantitative measurements of the public school system regarding student performance and the number of nearby parks and so these all factors we can consider to sell a home. As a real estate person, he want to predict the best time to sell homes. He need to check so many independent variable factors also. So He can build a prediction model of this by following two or more independent variables to predict the maximum sales price of homes. And also, we can see like sports example also we can see. So, if you are an athlete who believes highly in your ability to excel and succeed in competitions, you believe you will perform better in competition because of your high self confidence only. So, other athletes with similar mindsets share the same beliefs. Multiple independent variables might affect the athlete performance also, including one's self confidence and his age and his sex and his experience and willingness to take risk in competition. These all independent variables also we can consider. So researchers can conduct a broader study to predict how a change to any of these variables may affect the athlete performance also. So I think I am clear about what is multiple regression and by following these two examples. So when to use this multiple regression analysis? So we can use this multiple regression analysis in a wide range of tools. Like for example in the marketing and in sales analytical environment and medical and technological applications. So in so many areas we can use this multiple regression analysis. It helps professionals evaluate diverse data that supports goals and the processes and also the outcomes for their companies. So here are several ways for multiple regression analysis can benefit to a business. The first benefit is it gives insight into predictive factors. Because when companies can analyze the factors that affect some certain business operations, so management can better predict which independent variables influence the dependent functions of the business. For example, as a business analyst can predict which factors are likely to affect an organization's future profitability based on the results of a multiple regression analysis. In this case, the analyst he may calculate the regression using the formula where profit is a predictive variable and factors like liabilities and overheads and total assets revenue. So like for this he'll use some regression formulas to calculate. So the first thing when to use this multiple regression analysis is for to predict factors affecting outcomes. And the second thing is creates models for cause and effect analysis also. So understanding the mathematical data that multiple regression analysis it can provide and it can allows professionals to model the information in a graph or chart. Like we can display multiple regression, how external variables can cause changes in an independent variable. So this can be especially beneficial for financial activities like investing in stocks and securities, where traders can see the cause and effect relationship in the charts and to understand how economic factors are influencing the current market shares also. And the next advantage is it gives insight into predictive factors. So it gives insight into predictive factors means it is useful for determining what factors are affecting for the different aspects of a business process. For example, revenue can be one type of Y value where different independent variables like the number of sales and cost of goods sold and these are the effects for the business revenue. So in this, by use of this multiple regression analysis, the analyst can identify the individual activities that affect specific metrics they want to measure. So giving them better insights into how to improve efficiency and productivity. So these are the some of the benefits to organizations to use this by using this multiple regression analysis. And now let us see how to calculate and how to use the multiple regression formula. So as we know, to understand this multiple regression analysis, we need to assume like a financial analyst who wants to predict the price changes in a stock share of a major some fuel company. Using this example, we can follow step by step how to calculate the regression analysis for this. So in this linear regression, we can see that there will be a set of independent variables that helps us to explain better or predict dependent variable y. So the equation is as follows: y equal to a plus b1 into the independent variable 1 plus b2 into other independent variable plus b3 and so on bk into k. How many independent variables are there? According to that, we need to calculate. So this is the multiple regression equation formula. So in this we can say this b1, b2 and bk are the k independent variables and y is the dependent variable. So y is dependent variable, remaining x1 and x2. So these all are the independent variables. So this is the main formula for the calculation of multiple regression. So coming to calculation of multiple regression, we need to first determine all predictive variables what are all given in a problem. For example, they were given a the fuel means the interest rates and the variables like current price and also transportation price and the loads, all details are they given. So you need to all add independent variables in that. So y equal to, so y is the dependent variable plus b is the, in this we need to add all independent variable values. So y equal to b0 plus b1 into one independent variable plus b2 into another independent variable. Like that we need to add all independent variables and next determine the regression coefficient for that by adding all those values. So we got the value by adding all independent variables y equal to this much and sum those all values. We got y equal to 86.5 and next we need to evaluate that result. So the multiple regressions, this sum represents the likelihood of changes occurring because of the changes in the independent variables affecting the dependent variable. So as a financial analyst, we can evaluate the advantages of company stocks. The value of y is approximately 86.5%. So like that, by using multiple regression formula, we can analyze the dependent variables. And next, what is the use of this multiple regression analysis? This multiple regression analysis, it helps us to better study the various predictor variables at hand. And also it increases reliability by avoiding dependency on just one variable and have more than one independent variables to support the event. And also this multiple regression analysis permits you to study more formulated hypotheses that are possible. So these are some of the benefits about multiple regression analysis. So the formula for to calculate the multiple regression analysis is this: y dependent variable equal to a plus b1 into independent variables plus b2 into another independent variables and so on. So like this, according to the given data, we need to add the values to get the chances of about the business operations. So as of now, we discussed about in the regression analysis what is linear regression and multiple regression, the difference between linear and multiple regression analysis, and where we can use this simple linear regression and multiple linear regression with examples, and where we can and at what time we can use this multiple regression analysis, and what is the benefit to the organization by using this multiple regression analysis, and what is the formula to calculate the multiple regression analysis,